7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, and welcome back to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It is the middle of the week, and traditionally, Tony, this is our golf betting show, but we don't have golf for the rest of 2020, so we're going to talk football because that's the only other sport I feel like I pretty much, I would say I know. And the basketball and hockey starting up, we'll get into that, obviously, in 2021. But, Tony, no golf this week, no golf the rest of the year. What are you setting your sights on as far as the board?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly, as you said, mostly this. I really get big on college bowls, and as that season rolls around, I know this is obviously going to be very different based on this season, but usually late-end college football goes pretty well. And so, yeah, as the NFL season winds down, that's also usually a good time. There's a few other sports I'm dabbling in as well, some soccer and other stuff, but I know we're not going to be covering that at any point, especially.
I probably won't be. I know.
Yeah, but and I love the NBA, but I don't bet it. I just love to watch it because I just love the game. So and I leave the hockey to you, Aaron, for sure.
That's fair. That's fair. Token texted me today and said that he would like it to be known that he had a 16 ping pong parlay on Monday. So
wow.
Since he couldn't show up, I can't even really make fun of him. He made money betting ping pong. I mean, God,
yeah.
Can't knock the hustle at that point. But Token's not here. John Parr's not here. But we've got a couple other guests to help us fill out the rotation here. Some of the 12-ounce family with us from one of the newest shows on 12-ounce sports, generating a lot of buzz. I know that I've watched a couple episodes. They bring the fire from Kings of the Jungle. Max is one of the hosts, and we're happy to have you aboard, brother. Appreciate you.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. 1/3 of Kings of the Jungle. Carl, my co-host, probably in the gym right now, getting big, and Monica probably. She's a big arts and crafts girl, so she's not watching football. She's doing some arts and crafts. Just happy to be on, man. I'm a big betting guy as well. I'm just not. I can't really find how to put it out there as content. I just kind of lose on my own. You know what I mean? So.
That's fair. Then what you need to do is kind of the origins of the Vegas Squares. That's why we're called the Vegas Squares. You need to have a podcast or a show that comes out that says "Fade the fuck out of me." Basically, it's your show, Max. So Max, we appreciate you coming aboard for the next hour or so to talk some football. And, of course, the social media coordinator of 12-ounce sports, affectionately also known as the intern, Tyler Valdez. We appreciate you coming aboard. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to talk a little football with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Before we dive in, obviously, we got to pay the bills here at 12-ounce and at the Vegas Squares Network. So we obviously want to thank 12-ounce sports, Singo TV, and Spotify, one of our newest hosting platforms, for obviously putting all of our content on. You can find us on 12ouncesportsnetwork.com. You can find us on Zingo TV channel 761 on, I always mess this up, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. with a replay at 11 p.m. and also Saturdays at 10 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. before the start of the NFL slate. Want to thank our title sponsors, Vice Golf and Fanatics.com. Please use our affiliate links on lvsquares.com. Shop, especially this holiday season, shop those links. That way we can earn a little commission, help keep paying for the podcast. Want to thank the rest of the sponsors. They're all going to be scrolling down the screen as the podcast goes on. Obviously, the ones I just mentioned, Wicked Cuts Jerky, InTheHoleGolf.com, DC4L Custom Tees, and Pro-Am Customizations. Want to thank all of those guys. Keep supporting them so they can support us. And we're going to take a quick commercial break here. I know we just started, but also 12 Ounce has got to pay the bills as well. So we'll be right back on the other side, talk a little Week 14 recap. And we've got a special Patriots QB controversy for 2021 we're going to talk about in this show. So we'll be right back.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, At MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done. We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. But challenges are what motivate us. Like flying masks to our employees around the world. We're doing everything we can to get you what you need, and doing everything we can to keep our people safe. I'm former Navy pilot Sarah Rhodes, and I'm proud to lead our Amazon Air network.
All right, and we're back, and I want to talk a little Week 14 in the NFL. Tony, I know that you and I are bringing up the rear in the Vegas Squares Pick'em contest, but we're cracking a dent little by little on the two goofs upstairs.
I would say so. I think the past few weeks, at least, I know our record has actually been relatively strong, comparatively speaking. A lot of 3-2 weeks. So, yeah, it was a slow start. We got off to a really slow start, and it might end up doing us in because Token is, as you said, it's a 2020 sort of deal here that the guy just doesn't have losing weeks. He just doesn't seem to have bad weeks until finally this one. So you never know. Yeah. Exactly.
It's crazy too, because we've done this. This is the fourth year doing the contest. He's come in last 3 years in a row, and now he's going to win the whole damn thing. So,
yeah.
But gentlemen, I want to talk to you guys. Tyler, Max here. Max, I'll start with you. Week 14 in the NFL started with the drubbing of the Patriots by the Rams and finished with maybe one of the most incredible Monday night games we've seen in a long time with Browns-Ravens. If you could pick one highlight of Week 14 in the NFL, what would it be right now?
Week 14, it's obviously a big fantasy week for everyone. It's first round of the playoffs. So for me, actually, it's going to be Devontae Adams. I was glued to the TV watching the Packers. I see the Bears had respect. I actually like the Bears a lot more in that division, but having Devontae Adams on there and just, I keep down the guy. I keep saying, like, all right, eventually something's got to give. And, it's almost like when you see Lamar play, right? You see him run all over the field, and you think, like, aren't defenses, like, game planning for him to scramble? And somehow he's still ripping off 20-yard runs. So, yeah, Devontae Adams carrying my fantasy team, and, just no end in sight for that guy. It looks like he's going to put up, 2 touchdowns a game for the rest of the year into the playoffs. And him and Rodgers, that connection is just love to watch it every week.
And speaking of Devontae Adams, I mean, drafting wide receivers this year is like walking through landmines. Michael Thomas, Julio Jones. If you grab Devontae and didn't grab those other guys, I mean, it's like picking a diamond in the rough there. So, Tyler, same question. There's a lot of crazy things. That A.J. Brown catch was crazy. I don't know if you guys saw that. Another highlight reel catch for him. But if you had to pick one out of Week 14, what was your highlight from the week in football?
Definitely had to be like top backs that I passed on in fantasy. To piggyback off that was Derrick Henry, just beasting. Seems like every year at the end of the year he just hits another level. He's just running dudes over, as well as Dalvin Cook. They went into Tampa and they kind of just ran down their throat a little bit, and they kind of showed that why Cook was a first round pick in fantasy. But those two to me definitely showed why this year that they were top backs, and especially Henry, runners over dudes and just hitting 50-yarders all day.
Yeah, if you're anything like me in fantasy, my first 2 picks were George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, so you can tell how the year went for me. So,
I actually had Saquon, so it was a tough year. Watching these other guys, Cook and Henry, it's like a nightmare. It's like a year-long nightmare.
Yeah, who wants the number 1 or 2 pick next year? I mean,
no, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be Derrick Henry, so hopefully they don't put him on the Madden cover this year coming up. So, but yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry, I've talked about this, Tony. I've been waiting for the wheels to fall off with that guy, and it's just stud week after stud week. I mean, minus that week against the Browns where he had like sub 60 yards rushing. I mean, the kid literally is he can crack 2,000 yards. I mean, maybe not realistically, but I think if he runs for 180 in the last 3 games, I think he's looking at maybe pushing that Jamal Lewis number, or that who's the leader? Is it not Simpson? It's Dickerson, right?
I don't know. I'm not great with the history stats. I don't know.
I think it's Emerson.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just stud week after stud week out of Derrick Henry. Dalvin Cook, more the same. Unfortunately, Dalvin Cook doesn't kick, or else Minnesota might have had a chance to win that game.
True.
Dan Bailey, I'll tell you what, Dan Bailey in Dallas seemed to be automatic. And then just something happened. I don't know what. And then he got lucky that Blair Walsh basically is his twin. and got a job in Minnesota, and now this, unfortunately, I think Tony, you and I can probably rip up those tickets at this point.
I would think so. That was a game they needed to win. Fortunately, I happened to be on the other side. I did like Tampa in the game, so that actually worked out pretty well. I haven't really been able to get kind of lucky in a spot here and there this year. It's been a little bit of a down, unlucky year, but that was a very lucky game to have because certainly, as you mentioned, all the missed field goals. Minnesota really shot.
They weren't even close. They were just
close.
Comically off.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. So, yeah, Tampa did not play nearly as well as I expected them to, but they were still able to get a relatively comfortable win by the end. And, it's too bad. Minnesota really just a lot of bad things happened from the top down. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mike Zimmer. I know there was a lot of talk after they started out 0-5 or so that they might be making a change at the top. And, I don't think that's going to happen, but certainly going into the next season, it will be a, put up or shut up, I think, type of year for Zimmer because there really is a lot of talent on the roster. It's just, you can't get off to a start like that, an 0-5 start. And what appeared, to be a really, really strong top end division, I think Green Bay is certainly a lot better than everybody expected them to be. So, yeah, it's just, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think our tickets are dead.
Yeah, and I mean, every year we get this false sense of hope, Max, from Kirk Cousins. And, to quote Denny Green, I feel like he is what we thought he was. He's just an average quarterback. And, you pay this guy because you have to pay quarterbacks. But I don't know what to do, Max. It's not all on Kirk Cousins. They got rid of a couple key defensive pieces. Their secondary is just in shambles. And they're not drafting well either, except for Justin Jefferson. But what do you do if you're the front office in Minnesota here at this point?
So I think
give Zimmer a leash here.
Zimmer's, I think, a good coach. His track record speaks for itself. He was dominant in Cincinnati. Came in and was looking good in Minnesota. Luckily for you guys, I have a PhD in quarterbackology. That's my number one strong suit.
Educate me.
The only reason. In football, every time I play Madden, I'm the quarterback, and I only scout quarterbacks. And for the longest time.
But wait, let me ask you a question. I need to validate your credibility here. Did you play Madden when you had to make the windows move? Were you good?
It was when I had the vision. It was
the vision, the QB vision, because I sucked in that.
Yeah.
You were all right.
Yeah, I never really. No, I never used it, but basically, I gave myself this, self-acclaimed PhD or whatever.
That's fine. As long as you can back it up.
I'm a Bengals fan, so we just got Joe Burrow, and I started this thing at the beginning of the year where he came in, he was the first player ever, no preseason, limited training camp, come in, and he just was a baller, right? We saw him at LSU, and he came in and. Unfortunately, Kirk Cousins was one of those guys. I would go every week. I would list who played worse than Joe Burrow, right? So I'd say the list brought to you by Yard House. Joe Burrow played better then, and then rattle off a list. Kirk Cousins, I think, was on that list
often.
10 out of the 10 weeks Joe Burrow was playing. So, I think Trevor Lawrence would look really good in purple. I don't see how they're going to get there, but I don't know if you sell the farm, but. It's a generational guy like Trevor Lawrence coming up. You might have to consider, see how close you can get, or maybe even try a winger with Darnold. You know what I mean? It's just the Vikings are a good team. I think Kirk Cousins is just a hefty price tag. You can't, you don't have anywhere else to spend money, and I don't think he's worth whatever $84 million guaranteed. It's just not. I don't like to count other men's money, but I mean.
Well, there is some precedent set actually by the Vikings for acquiring stupid quarterbacks or terrible quarterbacks or average quarterbacks for high price tags. They did it with Sam Bradford. They gave 2 first-round picks for the guy. So maybe they can finagle or bamboozle another team into giving them 2 or 3 first-round picks for Kirk Cousins, and maybe one of those could turn into. I don't know. I like the Trevor Lawrence idea. I also think anybody who gets Justin Fields might be okay too. I think I like the way he plays, but we'll find out. That's a whole lifetime away. If maybe we'll get to go to that draft this year. We'll see, because we were supposed to have it in Vegas this year. We were going to go, Tony, I, and the rest of the squares, but that did not unfortunately occur. Tyler, speaking of quarterbacks a la Joe Burrow, we had a rookie take over for Carson Wentz this week in Jalen Hurts. And while I wouldn't say the team played harder for Jalen Hurts, I felt like they did have a little bit of a sense of energy, like, new guy, new possibilities. And like the cliche is that the backup quarterback's always the most popular guy in town. and he beat the Saints.
I think the whole team had a little bit more confidence going into that game. They felt like you could just tell the offense was a little more open and free. It wasn't as tense. And with the last few weeks with the Wentz, it was just like getting a yard was like a big success. Where with Hurts, everything opened up to where him able to run that ball, like Sanders said before the week, he was excited to run some read option, have that option in the offense. To where even just having that in the back of your mind, it changes everything from the DBs, linebackers facing him. You have to have that in the back of your mind that he could run it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Philly Pete and I did the draft show in the second and third rounds. We did the broadcast for 12 Ounce Sports, and Philly Pete, obviously, judging by his name, is a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. And when that name came across the board in the second round, I don't think I got a word in for the next 5 minutes because of the expletives and the cursing and everything. But I'd like to get Philly Pete on the horn and see how he's feeling now after one Sunday. Philly fans, they're as rational as they come.
I liked Hurts in the draft. As a Raider fan, I was hoping he would fall to the third round and just see what he could do because it's behind Carr, getting Mariota. Mariota's not going to be around long. I liked Hurts out the draft a lot.
I mean, to be honest with you, they had no room for Hurts. They have the next Hall of Fame quarterback in Nathan Peterman down there in Las Vegas, so you have nothing to worry about. So don't you worry. Your savior's there. But
one of the many guys that I don't know what they're doing with. I don't know what the Raiders are doing with some of these guys.
Target practice, basically. When you need to throw to the other team, put in Nathan Peterman. But, I want to talk about Jalen Hurts for just a second here, and then I want to get to another quarterback that played in that game or whatever position we're calling him. But a lot of people are talking about Carson Wentz. We talked about it on our show, maybe as a Patriots replacement last week. Spike, the Patriots fan, quickly shot that down. But I think the Eagles, in my opinion, Max, maybe just sit tight right now. Jalen Hurts plays great, fantastic, because you know what? He carries a second-round price tag, and you can carry a guy like Carson Wentz. Unfortunately, it looks bad because, we're going to say we should be paying Jalen Hurts, but luckily for the Eagles, that's not how, the contracts work, rookie deals work. So maybe the Eagles are actually in a decent spot here. They're only paying for one quarterback, and that's what they're getting. They're getting a decent quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Now, let's not jump the gun, but maybe if he can win the rest of these games, that NFC least is wide open, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's always rough when you pay. I compared it to Chargers earlier in the year. I said, hey, I got this $20 Apple charger, and breaks on me every year. I get the $1 Amazon, and it lasts forever. The thing with Hurts is like he's a great leader. I think his intangibles are like off the charts. We saw him get benched in the national championship. Obviously that's tough, live TV. But I think physically, like as a quarterback, he's going to hit a ceiling. I don't know when. I love seeing the guy do good, but I just think, look, they play the Cardinals this week. I think he's going to look like a deer in headlights. So I do think like, in a perfect world, you keep them both and you use them both kind of like the Saints do. But I don't know if Carson has that kind of mentality to be a part-time quarterback. And I think, the popular pick with him is go hook him up with Frank Reich. But I don't know. I don't see how you move on from a guy that you're paying that much money. You're kind of like in limbo. You really, because if the guy making $500,000 is balling and the guy making – I don't know his exact contract, like $50 million or whatever, like isn't. What do you do? So I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, and I can just criticize from the sideline and just say, Wentz is awful. Hurts is a great leader, but physically, I think he's going to eventually hit a ceiling that he can't overcome.
And that brings up an interesting point because, yeah, you're right. Does Carson Wentz get down? Does he shut down? Does he try to force his way out of Philly? Because the unfortunate thing is you're right. That price tag, nobody's touching that. No, not the Colts, not the Patriots.
I don't think the Jaguars touch it.
Yeah, there's nobody. They already made that Nick Foles mistake, so they're not going to do the same thing from Philadelphia. Try to acquire both of the controversial quarterbacks after that Super Bowl. It would be a Jaguars move, though. So, but Tony, what do you do if you're Carson Wentz in this spot? You just sit back, bide your time, or do you maybe start trying to get out of there? Maybe. I don't know if this is Carson Wentz's style, but maybe start being kind of a media douche.
No, that won't happen from him. I think we're pretty well established that he's one of the good guys out there. He's a pretty down-to-earth dude. But I'll push back a little bit from the general anti-Carson Wentz thought here. I think there's a lot of things that went against Carson this year. There were a ton of injuries. This is the most injured offense in the NFL by a pretty clear margin, especially on the line. And when you don't have a single offensive line consistently from one week to the next, it's just going to be tough. Now, did he make a lot of mistakes? Is he forcing a lot of balls? Yeah. But if you're forcing a ball in the fourth quarter or trying to, maneuver a team down the field when you're down 7, 8, 9, 10 points, that's understandable. And that's a good thing. But obviously, yeah, he did have a lot of first half turnovers and there were some issues, and he's fumbling, too much. Obviously, we know he takes too many hits, and they call way too many run. Even if it's not an RPO type of thing, there are too many runs called, for him, especially near the goal line, which I just don't think is a good thing long term. But I don't know. I just wouldn't put it all on Carson Wentz. I'm not going to think he's this MVP style, quarterback that he was, in that first half 3 years ago. Those days are probably gone, but I do think he's a very serviceable kind of guy somewhere. I just need to get a better situation around him. This is also not a great year for Doug Peterson either. I think he really coached poorly in many, many spots, and he's probably a better coach than he's shown this year too.
But unfortunately, the media is not going to see it that way because they just
Sure.
beat the 9-2 or 10-2 Saints. So,
Yeah.
In Philly world, that's, how come Carson couldn't do what Jalen could do? But you're right. I'm curious to see if there's a competition, if not for the rest of the season or in 2021 between these two guys. Because you're right. I mean, as much as you can say, hey, I'm okay playing Jalen Hurts for $500,000 or whatever it is, and Carson Wentz at $25, $30 million can sit on the bench, and we've got a $30.5 million total quarterback. You don't really want $30.5 million just literally sitting there holding a clipboard at that point. But flipping to the other side, Tyler, I'll bring this up to you. In that game, I've been saying this for 4 weeks. He's kind of been proving me wrong for almost 4 weeks now, but Taysom Hill ain't it, man.
Nah, I'm with you on that. I think they've had to try it out. Sean Payton, he's been in love with him since day one, so of course he's going to give him a chance. But I think it's becoming pretty obvious that from a quarterback point of view, that he just doesn't have what it takes. I mean, like for the Wildcat and here and there, getting him in the game, I think it's great to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But to have measure every down quarterback, it's kind of confusing. Like when Breeze went down, everyone expected it to be Winston, even though he's not great and he's obviously had a lot of problems, decision making, everything. But he knows how to get offense. He knows how to score points. He's shown that he could score points, throw the ball. Like Hill is kind of too much gadget. I mean, I like it. I like it here and there, bring it in to open up the offense. But to have a measure every down quarterback, it's kind of confusing that they're struggling and just sticking with him when they have Winston sitting there.
Yeah, Max, I got a fun fact for you here. Since the start of the 2019 season, the leader in interceptions is Jameis Winston, and he hasn't thrown any in 2020.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tyler said he could score points. He just didn't say for what team. He could throw it both ways.
That's pretty amazing. In a season and 14 weeks, he's still the interceptions leader.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played this year.
Crazy. Yeah.
So, all right.
If you look at Brady, though, one thing, if you look at Brady this year compared to last year, interceptions are going up for sure. Part of that can be part of the offense there too.
Must be the boat in the background or something.
Well, we talked about this, Tony, and the fact that Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette haven't been good the last month has been leading to how do you beat Brady? You pressure him, and he's going to throw picks. So, that's an interesting team. Actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later here, but I think the Chicago Bears need to be talked about here, Tony, with your hat there. I don't know that this fully put an end to the speculation of they should have taken Deshaun Watson over Mitch Trubisky, but damn, they fucking boat raced the Houston Texans. What was that, 38-7 or whatever the final score was. Deshaun Watson had nobody to throw to. I mean, it's amazing. I'll go around the panel here. You'd still take Deshaun Watson over Mitch Trubisky every day and twice on Sunday, correct, Mr. Quarterback Guru?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it's crazy to look back at the 2017 draft and look, it's Trubisky, Watson, Mahomes, like it, totally backwards. The Bears, though, like I'm Chicago, top 2 city in the United States. I'd love to be like a Chicago guy, like Cubs, Bears, Blackhawks, whatever, Bulls. But I just grew up in California, so I'm not. But inside somewhere deep, there's like Chicago guy. Like I'd even say no to deep dish.
There's room for you, Max. There's still room.
So I like Mitch. I want him to be good. I think it's like a product of circumstance. Like he didn't ask to be taken number 2, right? We all heard the story of him pulling up in a Toyota Corolla and then Ryan Pace being like, "That's my guy." So I do think it is kind of like he's no matter what he does, he's always going to be in that graphic where it's Watson, Mahomes, and Trubisky in the middle. They're kind of also in limbo to where like you got Foles, right, who I guess Matt Nagy loves, and then you have Trubisky, who I think is more suited for the offense, right? Do you draft a quarterback next year? Do you draft one in 2022? Like what, Trubisky's going to have to show a lot in these last, 3 games to steer the front office away from drafting, thinking about Justin Fields or possibly even like Keaton Slovis next year. I think he's done enough to buy himself another year, but again, I don't know what Ryan Pace is thinking. I don't even know if he'll be there. But yeah, that's a team that would be, if you give them a serviceable quarter, if you give them Andy Dalton, I think they're, got a couple more wins on their belt.
Especially with that defense.
Yeah, I just think their window was obviously the double doink year. Sorry to bring that up, but like, I think you still see that defense kind of, and then you just need the offense to kind of pick it up. David Montgomery came out of nowhere. I had him last year in fantasy. He didn't do anything. Now he's ripping off 80-yard runs. They're close, I think. It's just they're just a tier quarterback away. Like they just need to jump one tier up in quarterback, whether it's Trubisky making the leap or you bring in not Nick Foles, and then you got someone slinging the rock.
They declined Trubisky's option at the beginning of this year, which was
Right.
pretty much a signal they had no interest. But I mean, if they want to re-sign him, it's probably going to be a higher price tag. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't think Nagy makes 2021, so you really have to convince a new coach, and that's always the tough thing. Not my guy, in that spot. Nagy really never liked Trubisky, and God forbid Nick Foles comes back and he's a starter in the 2021 Bears. That's scary. But we have a couple of options. Maybe one of those guys that we talk about later here with the Patriots will end up being the Chicago Bears, or maybe even Cam Newton. There was talk of him being there last year. So going back to the Bucs, Tyler, what do you make of this team? Because preseason predictions were all over the board. I was kind of nervous with that situation, being a Bucs fan. Like, too many cooks in the kitchen. Then they bring in Antonio Brown. It's like, oh my God, what are we doing here? Actually, the noise has been coming from the coach and the quarterback. It hasn't been coming from these other characters.
Yeah.
So I don't see the Bucs as a real Super Bowl threat unless they can get that running game going down.
I think they benefit this year that the NFC doesn't have any kind of hard hitter like the Niners were last year that you see from the Chiefs and the AFC. I say the favorites have to be maybe the AFC have the Seahawks. You got the Saints with Breeze, along with the Packers, but the Packers are soft. So I think if the Bucs, if they get the right matchup in the playoffs, they have the right road, they get all together, I think they can make a run with Brady there as the game manager. Based off their chances, I don't see anybody in the NFC that's just a lock to say, oh, there's no way they get past them.
Yeah, that's fair. But do you like – sorry to interrupt you, but do you like your odds with a 43-year-old Tom Brady with the rest of that Bucs team going to Lambeau in January?
Against that defense, that defense to me is just very soft. As long as he has a couple seconds to drop back and make a decision, you saw last year the Packers were a really good team, and the Niners just tore through them. It was actually embarrassing to watch. I actually had a futures bet on the Packers last year to win the NFC. So I was just sitting there like in my hands in my head, like, dude, they were that close.
Sucks. Yeah.
Just a little bit of defense and they would have had it. It's that soft.
Well, there's a word in our world we like to use. It's called hedge.
Yeah.
Hedge, baby, hedge.
Yeah. So I think they benefit from the NFC being so wide open this year, especially with the Saints lacking Breeze right now. It's wide open.
Yeah, can we trust, Tony? Can we trust a Saints team that doesn't have Drew Brees? Or can we even trust a Saints team that does have Drew Brees?
Well, it's interesting. I brought this up before. I really think the best chance to win in theory would be starting Jameis Winston. I just think he's the best quarterback on the roster right now. I mean, Brees can't play. I think that's pretty well documented. The average pass that he throws is like 7.2 yards, in the air, which is 30%, less than the average, quarterback in the NFL. He's got no arm anymore. And clearly the tight end that's playing a quarterback right now is not the option. I think Winston's the option. I think he gives you the best chance to win a Super Bowl. Certainly it opens up the entire playbook. He'll throw it to the other team every once in a while, but I think you have that good of a defense. He doesn't have to try to do that. Again, a lot of his interceptions, I hate to bring this up again, a lot of his interceptions last year with Tampa Bay were in the second half of ball games. And he was also, playing on the team that had the absolute worst defense in the NFL too. So obviously this is the opposite situation here. I think that's the best chance to win. I wouldn't want to be backing a team that has Drew Brees starting right now. Again, I love the defense. And I totally agree with you, Tyler. I think Green Bay is a soft team, at the top. Yes, they're a little bit better, I think, than we expected, even so, especially with the injuries they've had. But it's still not a great overall team. It's not a team that you feel ever confident in, when they play somebody, well. If Aaron Rodgers does not have a big game, or if things, aren't working, if they're not running the ball well, that defense can fall apart. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's pretty wide open. And, I certainly don't know who I would be taking. The Rams look really, really nice, too. But, again, do you want to put all your faith in, Jared Goff, who's terrible against good defenses? I wouldn't. So, I think it's really, really wide open.
Isn't that a good thing, though? There's no perfect team in the NFC. I think we kind of like that. I mean, you could argue about Kansas City in the AFC, but they've looked human this year, I would say, and especially – the Chiefs can play Chiefs football. We talked about it. This is the second week or 2 out of the last 3 weeks where they've gotten out to gargantuan leads and can't even cover spreads. I know that, the NFL, they don't care about the spreads, but I do. But
Goodell does. Goodell does.
Yeah, out here in Vegas, they care about the numbers. So, but, it's just, what if the Chiefs are in a ball game like they were the Super Bowl run? What if they were in ball games like that? Can we trust them can we trust that we're like, okay, they're still going to win this game? I don't know. Harrison Butker has looked a little more human this year. He used to be pretty automatic. Still one of the best kickers. Don't get me wrong. He's still a great kicker. But if the Chiefs, Tyler, are in a dogfight this year in the AFC or in the Super Bowl, I don't see that comeback, ability. Like they have to get leads, I think, now in this year's playoff run.
I think Mahomes alone it makes them the favorite. They're
definitely favorite.
Hill. Yeah. I haven't seen offense in a long time play as well. They do. The way they just turn it on. If I had to give me $100 to bet on the Super Bowl, I'd put it on the Chiefs.
Oh,
I don't see anybody else you could look at and say, oh, for sure. It's got to be the Chiefs right now.
Okay, Max, what do you think? I mean, in the AFC, obviously we know it's the Chiefs, but who are some threats? I mean, Miami, if they could just cut it down, I mean, they had a ball game there, but unfortunately, Tua is just not ready to take the reins. But there are some teams in the AFC that may give them a dogfight.
Yeah, I don't think you like seeing the Chiefs obviously not covering on the road, where he won the Super Bowl. I think I took that kind of into effect where Hard Rock Stadium, he even tweeted, I think he has like a love-hate relationship with it. I wouldn't sleep on the Bills. Bills are a great young team, and I don't have the record off the top of my head. I don't know if I don't think they have a shot at having home field advantage. But if Kansas City has to go to Buffalo, I don't know. Remember last year in the playoffs, Kansas City went down like I think 24-7 or 24-10 to the Texans. If they do that this year against the Buffalo Bills, I don't think they're coming back. And as good as they are, you can can't even blink when the Chiefs are on because next thing you know, they're leading by 30 when they were down 10. Mm-hmm. I love the Bills. I don't think the Steelers pose a threat. I'm trying to think. Obviously, the Titans. I think the Chiefs can handle the Titans. I think we're going to see Chiefs-Bills, and two young quarterbacks that are really good. Two overall really great teams. It's almost kind of like a speed versus like toughness matchup. So I think the AFC is obviously where the entertainment is. NFC is kind of you might have Washington beat someone in their home playoff game. So I don't know. I think it's going to be Bills Chiefs versus who knows. Could be Packers. Could be pick your whoever you want to bully on that side. But I think AFC football is looking good right now.
Tony, no love for the Steelers. Everyone 11-0, 2 losses. We just who don't we trust in Pittsburgh?
The frauds. No,
they're just.
But what's the reason? What's the reason?
Okay, so I'm a Bengals fan, so I'll just put that out there. Hate the Steelers.
Incoming bias in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's all bias. But you got guys like Tomlin saying, "Look, if you can't catch, we'll get someone that will." Very next week, same problem. Like obviously, no, you didn't. You didn't get anyone that can catch. Their players going off about COVID, saying we don't care, and then them saying they do care. So they can't really make up their mind. They don't know they don't even know what's going on. And I don't know. I just think I've seen enough. They beat up on crappy teams and they lose to good teams. That's who they are. Sure, they beat the Ravens, but anything can happen in a divisional game. You beat up on the Bengals twice a year, and then you get throttled by the Bills. It's just I've seen this tale before. It doesn't end well. Big Ben, every time he loses, threatens to retire. Like we've all seen this act.
Or his arm
should have
hurts.
paid,
My arm feels funny.
yeah, they should have paid Le'Veon. They should have kept Antonio Brown happy. It was fun. I actually have someone. I'm a big bookmarker on Twitter. I like to save some tweets if people old takes exposed, whatever. There's a guy who said Steelers are going to be 14-2, and if they lose any one of these games and end up being 13-3, best believe I'm going to at that guy. And be like, you're way off. You're
How dare you?
14-2 my ass. No shot. 13-3, poverty. No shot.
Speaking
So,
of that. Speaking of that Week 17 game between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, if Cleveland ends up, or if Pittsburgh ends up being, what'd you say, 12-3 going into that, we might have a battle for the division, and you can expose your ass off.
Yep.
So, all right, as we wrap up Week 14 here, I want to ask each of you individually a question here. All right, so Tony, I'll start with you. Who wins the NFC West here, LA or Seattle?
LA. I think LA is one of the better teams, if not the best team in the NFC. That would be my pick at this current juncture. I'm going to be more defensive minded usually in these types of situations. This is the best defense in the NFC. So I do like LA, and I think if Jared Goff just keeps his head above water, I love the running game. Now there are multiple backs that can get it done. I really think it's the Rams here and nobody else. We'll see. I mean, I'll see how it all plays out, but I feel good about that one.
All right, Tyler, who wins the AFC South, Tennessee or Indy?
I think Tennessee. They're picking up steam right now. You see Henry just running people over. The offense is clicking. AJ Brown did get hurt last week. I'm not 100% sure what his status is going forward, but Tannehill's been dealing. I think Tennessee, like last year, they pick it up towards the end of the year, and they roll people over.
All right, and finally, Max, who wins the NFC least, Washington, the Giants, or Philly?
Man, I think I'm going to go with Washington. It's crazy how much a rookie from the Ohio State can impact a football team. Chase Young's a monster. Obviously, I think I saw someone tweet like, dang, I didn't know Chase Young was this good. I was like, it's week 14. Like, how have you not watched him? What Alex Smith has done is like, incredible. I get a splinter and I'm done for the week. So I think they have enough. Terry McLaurin, great on offense. Antonio Gibson has been inactive, but I know he's been tearing it up. I just think they get it done. Giants, obviously, we saw them flop a little bit. Eagles don't even know who they want at quarterback. But I think the Washington football team almost said their old name. So the Washington football team, I think, takes it, and they'll be hosting, maybe the Bucks or something. Who knows?
It's true. Yeah, I feel your pain there, man. I go up and down the stairs, and I think I'm day to day after that. So I feel the pain too. Getting old sucks. So, all right, I'm going to talk about this because I know that if I have this conversation over the weekend with Spike, I could get answers all over the board. He is the most diehardiest, weirdest Patriots fan I have. So I want a little clarity and objectivity here. We're going to talk about I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this. Basically, I don't think either Jarrett Stidham, Brian Hoyer, or Cameron Newton are going to be the quarterback in 2021. Now, while that still may happen, I like to play the speculation game. So really, I'd like to fire a quarterback name, an unrestricted free agent, at you guys, or potential trade option. And I'm going to fire one to each of you, and I kind of want you to tell me how you like it, you don't like it, and maybe the percentage chance you think that it may actually occur. So I want to start, Max, with you, the quarterback guru, because it seems only fitting. The Madden Messiah of quarterbacks here.
Yes.
The first one I think is, in my opinion, maybe the most realistic, and I wish it would have still contained Matt Patricia as a potential coach in Detroit, because I may have been able to, on his way out, ship this guy, Matt Stafford, to the New England Patriots.
See, so I love Matt Stafford. I know he gets a ton of hate. I've been on record saying he was doing Mahomes things before Mahomes. He's just an older guy. You heard Aaron Rodgers talk about him doing.
To be fair, you take Tony with a grain of salt. He thinks Mahomes is the greatest quarterback who ever lived. So
it's the best I've ever seen.
Correct. He is up there, but in terms of like when you get the little hijinks on Twitter of like him doing a no look, Stafford was doing that back at Georgia.
Yes, agreed.
He's just as talented. He's just not. I'm not gonna say just as talented. He's a very talented quarterback. And I think
get your turn.
Him on the Patriots, I think, is awesome. We've all heard the narrative, and my best friend Carl, Lions fan, so he has to deal with the brunt of like his quarterback being traded off in scenarios every year. Look, man, I think we are looking at like it would be a statistical like like it'd be an apocalypse because he'd have all the touchdowns. If you throw a wide receiver in there, maybe in free agency as well, give him a little more help, Stafford could potentially lead the league in yards. And I think maybe touchdowns and eventually winning if Bill Belichick hooks him up with the right pieces that he did with Tom. We've all heard if Tom Brady has 6, X quarterback would have, Aaron Rodgers would have 10.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, I just think he would help like 90% of football teams right now. And, he is that good of a quarterback. Detroit just kind of gave him a bad name. You know what I mean? It's kind of the roll of the dice. It's what I'm hoping doesn't happen to Joe Burrow. But Stafford, just as talented as 90% of the quarterbacks out there in New England, would be fun to watch.
Now, a short little anecdote here. You're from California. You live in California.
Mm-hmm.
How do you become a Bengal fan?
Okay, so here's the story. I love telling it because I
want to hear it.
Make the connection. So I like the Angels. I like USC. I like I guess just LA basketball. I don't really care for either one.
Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer played at USC.
Carson Palmer.
And I mean, I was like, I don't know, I must have been 13, and USC was at the top of their game.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Cincinnati, and then it seems like for at least once a year, Taylor Mays, Josh Shaw, Ray Maluga, we would just have one USC guy go to Cincinnati.
Okay.
So if you follow the trail, I think it was like Palmer, then like Maluga, then Taylor Mays, and then you remember Josh Shaw jumped off a building, sprained his ankle running from the cops, and he went to Cincinnati.
I do.
We haven't drafted a Trojan in a while, I want to say, but
the connection's there now.
Anytime a Trojan is like, I think Juju was one of the last ones I think we were supposedly trying to get.
Close.
So, I mean, anytime a Trojan goes to Cincinnati, I love it. And that's the connection there. So
fair enough. I like it.
Cool.
I'm glad you didn't jump ship and go to the Jets when Mark Sanchez got drafted.
No. I was mad that he didn't stay.
That's fair.
Said you want to leave,
Or Sam Darnold too. He could have jumped ship then.
I love.
I forgot about It
just sucks, bummer.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Tyler. I'll give you this one. I just blanked on his name. Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, I think Patriots getting a little greedy, even thinking they can get Deshaun Watson this coming year. He just signed a huge contract with the Texans. He's their franchise quarterback. They need to focus on getting him an O-line, and he'll be fine there. I think it's just a case of Patriots fans being greedy, even thinking that. Because Watson, he's their whole franchise. I don't see any way that could possibly happen. That's a big 0% chance. Sorry. For him,
maybe so. Again, maybe if Bill O'Brien was still there, he definitely liked shipping out star players.
The chances would be a lot higher if Bill O'Brien was there, for sure.
I said this to Spike. I said, you're probably going to end up with a pick, 16 or, 14 in the draft here. I'd package 14 in the first rounder next year, which should be high, especially if you got Deshaun Watson. I'd be all over it if I were them. I'd be first round pick, and maybe even a couple of thirds in that spot. But
if you can, but I see Texans saying you could have anyone else on our team except Deshaun Watson. Anyone else for sale? You take David Johnson and get him off our hands. Not Deshaun Watson.
Maybe so. All right, Tony, I saved this one especially for you.
Oh, fantastic! This is going to be great.
Jameis Winston.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Especially
that's
all of your ball watching of Jameis Winston in this podcast. So.
Yeah. So that's the only guy I think out of these three that is reasonable because the Patriots are not going to pay somebody massive amounts of money anyway.
Bob Kraft's not getting any younger. So.
Yeah, but that's just not how they roll. It's not how they've been, creating this team. They've done everything they could to not pay Tom Brady for as long as possible. They build it through the line, they build it through defense. It's just not going to happen. So, but Jameis will be cheap. So that actually makes some sense. New England has a history of taking chances on people that are not necessarily maybe the greatest human beings on planet Earth either. And Jameis doesn't seem to have a really good leg to stand on in that sense. But yeah, I mean, he can play the position. There's no question about that. He led the league in passing last year. He threw the ball again to the other team a few times. But if you lead the league in passing, you look at the last 30 years of players that have led the league in passing, it's kind of like a who's who of the Hall of Fame or soon to be Hall of Fame. So not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but it's worth something. I don't know. I just don't know about the fit or, how it would work out. This is all very weirdly theoretical. I don't really get that excited about this type of stuff, Aaron. But, the fact that he can play the game, certainly and won't be too expensive. I don't know what kind of contract it would be, but certainly
Probably something around Cam Newton's contract or less. So
something reasonable. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it would be theoretically good. I'm glad that Stafford got some love though too, because I do think he's an underrated player. He's been an
I
underrated
think we
quarterback
would all
for a while.
agree on that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we would all agree on
Yeah.
that. Let's just say that Bob Kraft, like he said, Bob Kraft channels his inner Bill Foley. He wants to win now. He wants to be competitive, and he's willing to open up the pocketbook. Max, here's one I got for you. Dak Prescott.
You know what? You read my mind. I had it in as a write-in. Didn't want to interrupt you, but here's the thing. I played football. I'm sure a bunch of us have, and it teaches you a lot about life. And it's very it's weird how some things in life can relate to football. The Patriots had Tom Brady for 20 years, right? And I relate that to someone being in a relationship for 20 years. You're in a relationship with this person 20 years, right? And straight edge, whatever, they're a good partner or whatever. It cuts off. You go to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is Cam Newton, right? So you go from here to
That's
here.
fair.
And then, let's say, you break up after 20 years, you want to get back on the scene. You try Cam Newton, not really like it. Jarrett Stidham, whatever.
That bitch crazy.
I think that
Swipe left.
you get
in the
Dak
middle.
Prescott here. You pay him whatever he wants, and because he's salty about his Dallas. They're not taking care of him. I think it's a great matchup. I think it's perfect. I think he goes in there and he along with Bill Belichick. Again, I still don't know if it's Brady or Belichick. I'm leaning Belichick, but if it's if he can
Good lean.
if you can get if you get Dak Prescott, you probably won't have these problems that Cam Newton's having, and I guess Jarrett Stidham for whatever amount he plays. You get a little healthy, and you got to give some more free agents. But I think Dak Prescott, being a guy that he is, 4th round pick, Mississippi State, overshadowed by Wentz and Goff in the draft. I think he's going to be happy to find a new scene, which I think the Cowboys should pay him. But if they don't, New England would be a dream. It's such a dream. It doesn't even make sense when I say it out loud, but it'd be amazing to see.
Yeah, and I think Dallas will pay him as long as the price tag's 30 or less, in my opinion. I think they will pay him. All right, so those are the big names.
They tried to, didn't they? They tried to. For
Yeah, but that
a
was
3 or 4 year
before he
deal.
got hurt.
Well, I mean,
If you're the Patriots, you give them 35 and say, "Come play with us, win a Super Bowl." And
That's
make
what I'm
more
saying.
money.
Bob Kraft
Bring
opens
in
up
a
the
Super Bowl
checkbook.
and more money.
Yeah.
I think he has the leverage. I think Prescott has
Yeah.
the leverage here.
Oh yeah.
I think, and you can old takes expose this. I think Dak Prescott signs for less than $33 million a year. You can old takes expose me on that one if you want.
that's his own fault. He was offered a deal.
I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm not questioning his
Well,
motives.
there's all this love for everyone's doing Prescott wrong and all this thing.
No, I don't think so at all. I think
All right.
Oh,
I got no beef with the Cowboys not paying him, and I got no beef with the Cowboys letting him walk.
Good.
But I also he secures the bag, and the Cowboys got to make the right decision. It's fine. It's totally fine. They don't have long in this league, so I don't blame anyone for going to get their money. If they fall on their face, that's their own fucking fault. So, anyways, let's move to the tier 2, as we'll call it. These two guys I really like. So I'm hoping that I'll get some confirmation bias here. But if you feel differently, feel free. Tyler, Jacoby Brissett.
I think Brissett's a sneaky option if guys like say Prescott they can't get these big name guys. I think Brissett could be a sneaky option, being that he's played there before. He knows the system. He's familiar with Belichick. Patriots know what they would get out of him. He's shown that with the Colts that he can come in even as a backup, come in, make plays. Even when he was a starter last year, when Luck was retired, he showed that they were competitive with him coming in last minute, starting quarterback. But if they're going in for a Super Bowl, I don't know if Brissett's the guy that's going to take them all the way to the Super Bowl. But if all these other guys they strike out, he's a good option.
Okay. My favorite option, Tony. I hope you agree with me here.
All right.
Nick Mullins.
This is
My
your
favorite option of the tier 2s. No, I love the big guys. Don't get me wrong. I love the big guys. I'm saying my favorite option if they don't get Stafford, Watson, Prescott, or actually not even Winston. Stafford, Watson, Prescott. Nick Mullins, I think, has proved he can be a capable quarterback. And I don't think the Patriots need a Dak Prescott superstar type, although I wouldn't mind them having him. But a guy who doesn't lose football games for you.
I'll agree with the first part of that statement, that they're more likely to go with somebody that isn't like a Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford, but this is not the guy. This is a backup quarterback, Aaron. I don't agree.
Where's your
I'm
mute
not-
button?
I know. I'm not going to call myself the quarterback whisperer like Max, but I do study players. I mean, really hard. Again, that's, I bet a lot of player props, and the guy's a backup quarterback. He's slow with the ball. He's just, I think it's relatively, unfortunately, to me, this is my opinion, pretty obvious that he's not a guy you would want to base your franchise around, or at least your offense around. So I don't think they'll go that route. I'm not sure how many people are fans of Mullins versus not. I could be in the minority. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to put my offense around a guy like Nick Mullins. I think there's going to be better options, again, for not even that much, much of a monetary difference. Tyler just talks about Jacoby Brissett, who we have seen play reasonable football. And I think with a quality team around him, can be a reasonably fine quarterback. And he's not going to be any worse or more expensive than Nick Mullins. I mean, you're going to have to pay a starter, relative money anyway. So to me, Mullins is completely unproven and has really shown that there's just a lot of issues that he has. And I just don't like how slow he is with the ball. He's just so slow with reads and everything. And we're now like 5-6 starts in. 1 or 2 starts, that's fine. We can give a guy some time. But this is just, can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, maybe so. Career quarterback rating is in the 90s, so I can't really hate on that. He's usually only pressed into a starting roles when the team has fallen apart. I mean, look when, 3 years ago, team was garbage.
Yeah.
And this year the team is, being put together with Band-Aids. So
I don't know, he was an RPO style quarterback out of Southern Miss who, won his fair share of games in a bad conference and never really shown anything. I don't know what we're trying to do here with.
But if we're opening up the pocketbook, he can probably be had for $7 million. So let's pay everybody else.
That's true.
And go win a title.
I agree with
Giving
that.
Nick Mullins $7 million. Ooh.
You think he's gonna get more than that?
No,
I
less.
think he'd be lucky to get 4. 4
Less.
overpaying for a good backup. Sorry.
I don't know.
I'm a Raider fan. I see what we did this year with Mariota. You don't want to pay that much money for a backup quarterback. And there's so many other needs on a football team.
Well, I'm saying, but $7 million for a quarterback at this point is chump change. I mean, you're probably going to bring back Hoyer at $1.85.
He's like 41. He can't play.
Well, I mean, obviously Jarrett Stidham stinks because he can't beat these other 2 scrubs out.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, I don't know. I mean, everybody talked about Jarrett Stidham was Bill Belichick's guy. Well, then why can't he see the field? Why can't he see the field? So
for all we know, Bill Belichick's going to work his magic. Jarrett Stidham's going to come out next year and be the MVP or something.
Oh, be a killer.
Be great. I was big on the Stidham train, so I wouldn't hate that. So, what about you guys? Those are the guys I thought of. Tyler, in your opinion, what's another guy that maybe flying under my radar here that could be the Patriots quarterback in 2021?
I like Rivers, being that he's a free agent this year. He signed a 1-year deal with the Colts. I think for him and the Patriots, it could be like a perfect kind of fit, even though I'm not a big fan of Rivers, Raider fan. Can't stand his face. I'm sick of just looking at his face every damn game. But with the Patriots, it could open a lot of things up. Another one, too, that I think really would put them in the contention for Super Bowl would be Matt Ryan. The Falcons are going to have a new coach next year. It could be time to move on from their old regime, old team. I've heard them say a couple of times that they might have to get rid of everyone from that debacle against the Patriots, 28-3. Him, Julio, they might all have to go to start fresh.
Yeah, I just think that's a big price tag for a quarterback, and you have to trade for him. So let's see.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but Max, I apologize. I stole Prescott, who is other than Joe Burrow.
Oh, you're good.
Other than Joe Burrow being the quarterback for the Patriots in 2021.
No, never. So, like, the Patriots were the big bad bully in the AFC East, and they've kind of lost that a little bit, right? The bully's kind of getting stood up to now with Buffalo. How else do you get that back? I think what you do is you look at the teams that are going to draft a quarterback in 2021, Jets, Jaguars, and it depends I don't know how risky they're going to be. Are they going to go all in? Are they going to just find a bridge guy, whatever? I don't see why there's no Sam Darnold to New England talk. Why don't you just bully little brother, pluck Sam, fly him up to Massachusetts, and then you got him he's in his second year, or he's in his third year, I think. So you got him for 2 years cheap, and then you'd have to give us some assets. But I mean, you kind of got if they're willing to experiment, he's one of the guys I think, establish a little more dominance again. Jets, you're our little brother. Give us Sam Darnold. Send him whatever they want, and then if he turns out to be the guy, I mean, you you look like, again, Bill Belichick gets all the credit for, finding the right guys or whatever. So I'd like to hear a little more chatter on, obviously if they don't get a Stafford or all the other guys we just named, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind seeing Darnold, and he obviously needs to change the scenery. So why not New England?
Well, Tony, if they're sitting there at pick, umpteen, anybody in the draft, obviously Lawrence, Fields, gone. Maybe even, what's the guy's name out of North Dakota State? He might even go prematurely too. But I can't imagine Trey Lance, thank you. I can't imagine the Patriots are taking a QB in the first round.
Nope, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not a fan of the majority of the quarterbacks coming out. I know I'm in the distinct minority of I wouldn't sell a franchise for Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure about how the transition will be. I don't know. I've only thought there was really one in my lifetime, hands down, transition that made a ton of sense, and that was Andrew Luck. And I think he got a little bit unlucky. He just got injured so often. But when he was healthy, he was quite good. I haven't found anybody else that I think is really a slam dunk. Obviously, Joe Burrow and some of the others that we've mentioned here, look quite good early on. I don't know. I don't think it's a great class. Trey Lance is interesting just because he's doing it against, subpar competition for the most part. But, I mean, he really, really looks the part. And if he can just stay healthy and not take a massive amount of hits, because he is a running threat, a massive threat on the ground, that would be really fascinating to watch. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to draft anybody. It just doesn't seem like this organization does things like that. They don't take, these big chances on early picks like this. They don't spend a lot of money in spots that most other teams do. It's sort of the opposite of this. And there's so much to happen, in the offseason. Like, this is still a team in transition. What are they going to do with Gilmore, and a lot of other guys? We're talking about top end, like the greats of their positions in certain spots. And you have to make some big decisions there. So, we'll see. I don't know, but I think it's going to be more of the Jacoby Brissett kind of lower end train, unfortunately, of whoever they decide to go with. But yeah, if they can land a guy like, Matt Ryan, as you guys said, I know the contract's brutal, but that's a pretty nice fit right there. I would think, but that's me.
Here's hoping for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford. I mean, obviously these are great fits. I'm just not sure that they're willing to spend that kind of money.
So, all right, we're going to wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, we are on 12 Ounce Sports Network. You can catch all of our podcasts there. You can go on YouTube, Spotify, and, of course, Zingo TV, channel 761. Gentlemen, we appreciate you guys coming aboard with us. Tyler, the social media coordinator of 12 Ounce Sports. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
And the host of Kings of the Jungle, Max. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully everything's going well up there. I know that the Kings of the Jungle are generating a lot of buzz on Sunday night, Monday mornings. So hopefully we can continue that fire there. Appreciate you both, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man.
And for Tony and myself, this is the Vegas Squares podcast. We appreciate you looning. That's not even a word. Appreciate you listening and tuning in, and we will catch you this weekend for our week number, 15 picks?
Yes.
Hopefully you and I can get back maybe into the second place spot. I think Token Tony has locked it up for the year. Unless he has some 0-4 or 0-5.
I've seen Token sprayed around before in multiple ways. I'm not counting this one out. I like Token a lot, but he is capable of some really, really bad stuff here and there. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm not counting it out, Aaron. I'm not counting it out.
Totally fair, but we got to have some good weeks too. So.
Oh, I know. I understand that. Yeah.
All right. Tyler, where can we find you? I know you're the 12 Ounce Sports social media guy, but where can we find you on social media for your personal self?
I'm on Twitter. I've been doing a lot of NBA best ball articles, getting ready for the NBA season.
Nice.
You could find me on Twitter, TYYLERV. I'm just writing articles, getting ready for some NBA basketball.
Right on. Yeah, I read the fantasy basketball talk. I'm not a big fantasy basketball guy, but when I used to play, I know that what you're talking about is definitely some good information. And Max, you're one of the funniest follows on Twitter that I've seen in a while. So you and Kenny Top Dolladay, your co-host there. So where can we find you on the social media?
So I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Max Hobbybox. Little background: I'm into sports cards. I like buying, selling, trading, all that stuff. So Max Hobbybox on Twitter. Give a shout out quick to Carl Cervantes 15 and M Zapata with 3 A's. So those two guys are, two other great follows, I think. And you follow all three of us, you get the kind of gist of the show throughout the week and stuff. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, though.
Yeah, most definitely. It was real fun. We'll have to do this again. And
was.
Tony, like I said, hopefully we can get back in the chase week 15 and catch up to Spike and Token. So again, we appreciate everyone listening. Check out our website, lvsquares.com. Follow us on Twitter @VegasSquares, and we will catch you this weekend for our week 15 picks. We are out.